Yeah, it is another episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun today. Exactly 1 week away from the 2023 NFL Draft. And a monster one it is for us Las Vegas Raiders. So we're going to do a whole bunch of draft stuff this show. We'll do some more draft stuff, obviously, leading up. But we want to make sure that we get like a lot of time for you guys to kind of digest our stuff. So we'll do a lot of draft stuff this time. A little different draft stuff next time. Less like stuff to ruminate because the draft will be right there. The draft will be in Kansas City. Did you watch the UFC this last weekend in Kansas City?
I did not.
So this is how backwards that dumbass city is. They built another T-Mobile Center, not the one in Vegas. There's a T-Mobile Center in Kansas City. Beautiful venue. Because they thought they'd attract a hockey or NBA team. They didn't. It's just an empty venue, just sitting there with nothing in it. No pro teams. They get like NAIA like basketball in there sometimes and shit. Like your beer league, rec league basketball team could like rent it out for like $45.
When they're gonna realize they're in misery.
Yeah,
in Missouri, like nobody wants to go there.
Did you watch the last fight of the prelims, Bill Algeo versus TJ Brown?
No, I didn't.
Okay. It was a good fight. Bill Algeo looked great. Got a second round rear naked choke. But the reason why it was great is TJ Brown trains in Missouri. I think he's from like Florida or something, but he's like kind of adopted himself as the Missouri guy. And so Bill Algeo is from Philly and he's getting booed, right? He's fighting the local boy, right? Algeo chokes him out, gets on the mic afterwards. And before that, two fighters had retired. Zach Cummings and Ed Herman fought each other, and they both retired. Normally, it's like a guy loses and one guy retires. They both retired from fighting, like two longtime veterans in the UFC. Bill Algeo gets on the mic, and he says, because he's been booed the entire week, right, all fight long. And you'll never see my ass retiring in a dump like Kansas City. This place sucks. You're walking around in your Crocs. This place is a fucking dump. He's a Philly boy, right? Like, he's just going to take that shit. Like, all right, new favorite fighter, Bill Algeo, featherweight, UFC.
He's got taste.
It was great. That should be his bit. Like they should have him go like wherever city the UFC's in. They should have him fight whoever the local guy is, and just shit on him on the mic afterwards.
It's like the reverse John Cena when he first started out. He would wear his trunks and tights would be like the color of like the local sports team. So he had all the different colors and shit.
I remember when the UFC would go to different venues and Tap Out was still a big sponsor on the canvas. They would put it whatever colors the venue was. So when they went to the Staples Center, they do purple and gold for the Lakers, and they'd go in Chicago. They'd be like the Blackhawks colors or whatever, right? It's like, oh, that's kind of clever. But
they never did the hockey colors, bro. If it was a basketball team, it was the basketball team.
If it was a hockey-only venue, they would. Or if it was, the team's better. But that's because you're an LA guy, right? Where like the Lakers reign supreme. Like there's some big.
I'm a sports guy, and what hockey's like the sixth.
It's nationally, no, it's four. Football, baseball, basketball, hockey.
Yeah, no, you got college football, college basketball is more popular.
I would put college basketball below hockey. College basketball is popular for 1 month.
Yeah, it's a hell of a month.
It's a big month.
Okay, I'll give you 5.
Okay. And UFC's like, I put UFC after hockey. I mean, I'd say 6. Dude, not to make this a UFC podcast, but like they did over a $2 million gate in Kansas City, like for a fight night, for just a regular.
Dude, because nothing happens there.
But they're doing it everywhere. They do like 18 million in London. They did in Miami. They did like 15 million. Like these are like Rolling Stone numbers. Like if the Rolling Stones came to your city and charging $400, like it's $350 for a nosebleed. That's what they're pulling. It's crazy.
Bro, they're freaking spent like $4 billion for the company, man. They got to make that money back somehow.
And the demand's there. I think it's just like perfect. Like when after the pandemic, people are still like kind of starved for it, and they know like what markets to go and where. Anyway, more importantly, the question of the day, we'll have it pinned down in the comment section. Let us know. Type away, tappy tap. Are you a good typer? Are you a hunt and pet guy?
No, I'm a pretty good typer, yeah.
Yeah. I type so fast, like 45, 45 words a minute. Because I he's magazine writer, TV writer, but I only do it with these 6 fingers: thumb, index, middle. I don't do it properly, but I just fly just like this. I'm like a velociraptor typing. However you choose.
You're like the lobster boy. What's his name? The lobster boy.
If the lobster boy can crank out 10 magazine articles a month. However you choose to type. What is the Raiders' biggest need heading into the draft? Lord knows there's plenty. Very curious what y'all think. And I'm leaving that open-ended for that reason. When you say biggest need, it's like, well, quarterback is such an important position. Maybe you say number 1, even though we have Jimmy G and he's, capable quarterback, right? Could certainly do better, but it's such an important position. Maybe you need him. Or maybe you say tight end because it's such a tight end rich draft and we've had such good tight ends, whatever, right? However you feel biggest need means to you, because I'm very curious what you think for 1, and 2, I know what it means to me. So here are my rankings of the 14 positions on an NFL football team. Ranking of need position-wise, and here they are. I'll rip through it, and then we'll discuss amongst ourselves. Number 14, kicker. Daniel Carlson, best kicker in football. Shove it, Justin Tucker. 13, punter. A.J. Cole, 2-time Pro Bowler. Boots it. He's got the power, and he can put it inside the 5 consistently. Best kicking duo in football. No need to move there. 12, wide receiver. You have Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, and Jacoby Myers as your 3 main pass catchers. You're in damn good shape. The only problem is depth. There isn't really the rest of the room is mostly like undrafted practice squad dudes that are there to fit a very specific role. Like, okay, you're a speedster. Okay, you're 6'5". If one of our guys, God forbid, knock on wood, goes down, there's not really one guy that's like, okay, you can play this role, just not as well.
Yeah, that's we're one injury away, and it doesn't have to be Devontae Adams, but we're one injury away from having a pretty below average wide receiver room. Because then you have like Dorsett, Cole, Sims, like those guys are
a bunch
just
of 30-year-olds that are kind of whatever, a bunch of undrafted dudes,
expensive guys that if a undrafted rookie comes in here and plays semi good, he's going to take all their snaps.
Yeah.
So
number 11, running back. One, we've got arguably the best running back in football coming back. Hopefully, hopefully it's not a tag in a trade, or maybe it is. We'll see. And also, does any team need more than 6 running backs? We have 5 running backs and a fullback. I don't think any team's more than that. The only issue here is no other running backs really played any meaningful roles. Like, some guys were signed and did squat. Some guys were drafted, stayed on the team, never saw any touches, right? Now, is that just because Josh Jacobs was amazing and we're just feeding him, or is it because none of those guys earned it in practice and didn't have faith? Time will tell. Number 10, offensive tackle. Colt Miller's a rock. You want a rock and left tackle. Illuminor at right tackle. I feel like it's his job to lose, more or less. The 2 best positions of generally the worst unit on offense is the tackles. Center, Andre James, solid for now. He'll be our guy. But we need depth. Don't have a lot of depth there. Number 8, guard. Alex Bars was our weak link at guard last season. And Parham is likely headed to center at some point. That's still kind of the goal. And again, there's no great players on that line really outside of Colton Miller. It's just when they improved, it's because they improved as a unit, not just really as guys. And so you always want to make sure you're adding depth there. Number 7, defensive end. And that's with Max Crosby as one of the best players in football and the best defender on our team. Chandler Jones is staying for at least 1 more season, maybe 2, because of how his contract's built. And Malcolm Kuntz not really developing as we'd hoped. Flashes here and there. And defensive end's really, really important. So even with like a huge chunk of our defensive cap space on defensive end, we still need help at defensive end. Great.
Yeah.
Number 6, tight end. What was arguably our best room for a couple seasons. Now, one of our worst offensive rooms, Austin Hooper, OJ Howard are cheap 1-year deals. Just plug and fit them in. If they play like they've playing recently, they're going to be terrible. If there's a chance that they can flash what they've been able to do, then we might be, all right. The only reason this isn't higher on the list is because the rest of our skill position players can kind of tight end isn't as crucial for us as it is other teams because our running backs and wide receivers are so good. Back to defense, safety. Merrick regressed in his second year. He had showed so much promise his rookie year, and he's basically the only thing close to like a real starter. Like he's the only guy that would start on a decent defense because our defense is so bad. Guys start. Number 4, quarterback. Even though we've got Jimmy G, I mean he's basically, let's be honest, he's a placeholder. Probably here 2 years on the contract, maybe 1 year if whoever we get is fantastic and we'll bite that dead cap money. In number 2, and he always gets hurt, right? He's played 1 full season, and also just comes down to if you don't have a franchise quarterback, you are looking for a franchise quarterback. It's the most important position in sports. Even with Jimmy G, it's still number 4 most important need. Number 3 in the core of the defense, linebacker. Spillane and Masterson cast off backups, while Divine Deablo again, he's shown flashes but hasn't developed as much as we'd hoped. Number 2, defensive tackle was atrocious for us this season. Andrew Billings was by far the best defensive tackle. And even then, Mick Ziegler's like, you can bounce. We're not even going to pay you $1 million. Like, you can go. Farrell and Matthew Butler drafted, but they couldn't get really any meaningful playing time on a terrible D-line. Like, if it was a really good D-line, you draft those guys later in the draft. You're like, let them develop. But they couldn't even get on the field with them playing this terrible. And number 1, cornerback, Nate Hobbs. Again, another guy, another second-year player. Looked great in his rookie year. Thought, this is the man. Regressed a little bit this season. He should be in the slot anyway. That's where he does his best work. The only reason he's on the outside is because we desperately need corners. We literally need 2 starting corners. Like we need 2 starting outside cornerbacks. We have some decent depth, which you need for DBs, but we're literally short 2 starters at corner. Yeah, that's our list, 14-1.
It's a shame that Nate Hobbs got hurt when he did. Mm-hmm. I think it's kind of derailed his season. I still have hopes for him to get much better this year. As far as defensive tackle goes, I mean, these are 4th round and beyond guys. Mm-hmm. You would love it, but normally you don't find starters in the 4th round afterwards. Like for the first 3 rounds, you should get starters. The next few rounds, those are guys that are, play, develop. Normally the tackles don't pop their first season unless they're a special player. Hopefully, they'll make that big second-year jump. I think Spillane is a little bit better than you give him credit for. When he finally got to see the field after Bush got hurt, he actually played pretty well. Mm-hmm. Merrick, when he was asked to do what normal safeties do in the NFL, he couldn't do it. So he's the center. He's the center fielder that plays on the warning track. That's who Merrick is. And don't really ask him to catch any interceptions. Don't ask him to really cover anybody one-on-one. He's a deep center field guy. That's really what he does.
Prevent the big play.
Yeah,
that's what Gus Bradley wanted him to do. That's what he did.
That's not what the majority of the NFL does defensively. Because of the tight ends, because of the bigger wide receivers, your safety has to be able to cover. And unfortunately, he's not that guy. So hopefully he can develop and get better. If not, it's a waste of a 2nd round pick. Kuntz is a bummer. He just hasn't been able to see the field too much. He's not good at all against the run, and he doesn't have that presence to if when he's on the field, you can still double team Max Crosby and not have to worry about it.
All those coolly named second guys like that draft class 2 seasons ago with the sweet names: Divine Deablo, Malcolm Kuntz, Trevon Merrick. They're all taking dumps.
Well, Deablo got hurt. He was playing well until he got hurt.
Yeah.
That's Hobbs and Deablo. They got injured last year, which it's a shame because we didn't see what they can do and how they can develop Hobbs came back and never really was the same after he came back.
Yeah.
For sure, Bars is. I don't know why we re-signed this dude. He was just getting used left and right. Illuminor, I'm not as high on Illuminor as a lot of people are. Oh, he was rated from this point on. Like, okay, well, he still had a ton of penalties, and he still gave up a lot of pressures. And
I didn't say he was good. I said it's his job to lose.
No, I'm not saying you said that. A lot of people are saying, oh, well, if from week 12 on he was, this rated player in the end, like, get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. They'll quit picking and choosing that shit. But yeah, it's a decent list. The wide receiver, I think, is actually a little bit more of a need than we think because of the league being so pass heavy. You don't have these guys on the field every single play. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well,
I think it also helps out too that Josh McDaniels likes a lot of running backs, likes a lot of tight ends too. So like I think on a lot of teams you have you've got 4 wide receivers out there, half the snaps, not so much, especially if this team's gonna be about Josh Jacobs, right? Like let's keep Jimmy G from getting hurt. Let's use our $10 million running back. Our O-line is much better at run blocking than pass blocking. I think I didn't even realize it until I started making this list. And I'm like, all right, who's behind us at wide receivers? Like, ugh, that's pretty ugly. Like depth is a major issue. So that's why, like, I think we're going to see a lot of like 21 sets, like
could
again with, Hooper and Howard, they can still block better, I think, than they are better blockers and pass catchers kind of at this point in their careers. So that's why I went wide receivers so low. I think we're going to use them less than a lot of teams do. And our top 3 are maybe arguably the top 3 in football, something like that.
One of the, you could say that.
And what else? And who else? Like, is there a unit better than wide receiver on our team, or a unit with more needs? Running back, there's just too many question marks because none of those guys played. It was just all Josh Jacobs and Jacobs, the law offices of Jacobs and Jakobsen. Like that's all it was all season,
pretty much.
So they're all question marks to me.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's
anything. So other than wide receiver, what do you think of the list? Is this right?
No, it's close. I mean,
I could see defensive tackle 1.
You can make an argument. I understand the logic in everything. Mm-hmm. Do I have to agree 100%? No, but I can understand why you put them the way you put them.
I also like how deep this corner class is. So that worked out kind of nice. It's our biggest need, and it's a nice cornerback class.
Yeah, I mean, you can get a couple corners. The thing is, it's like you can't go out there and draft 4 corners and expect all 4 of them to start. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think what we do a lot is we overvalue guys coming in from college because they're playing against college players, and some of these pros are still better than them. Now, it doesn't mean that their ceiling is higher than the guys coming in, but as of right this second, yeah, because I've seen a lot of mock drafts where like people are, let's draft 5 corners. Like, whoa. How many guys are going to play? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, man. But definitely, I think you're right at the top. Corner, defensive tackle, linebacker are the top 3 for me too.
Like quarterback at 4?
Just because it's such a an important position.
Yeah.
If Jimmy G plays well and he can stay healthy, I can definitely see him playing more than 2 years here. Do I expect it to happen? Probably not.
I mean, that's the goal, right? I mean, even if we do get our quarterback let's say we don't trade up and get like, which we're both hoping for, right? We're not getting, a Stroud or something. We're getting a hooker or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's still kind of the goal for how his contract is structured. They can move off from Jimmy G after 1 season. They'll take a little bit of a bullet. I think they're kind of like, let's keep him for 2. Let's give him.
Bullet's more of a shotgun. It's a healthy. I mean, we're already getting rid of all the dead cap next year. We don't want to start right back adding more. Not if we don't have to. And you're right. We want to get a quarterback in there, and we want that quarterback to force us to move on from Jimmy G because he's better. That's what we want.
So there it is. From 1 to 14, cornerback number 1, linebacker, defensive tackle, quarterback, safety, tight end, defensive end, guard, center tackle, running back, wide receiver, punter, kicker. from 1st to 14th, biggest need. We do. I feel like we also don't appreciate how we never have to worry about our kicking game. Like there's so many teams that like they've just lost seasons, lost playoff games, blown
3-4
games,
kickers,
just like constantly rifling through kickers. It's just like, oh, like that nightmare, that headache where you're just like, you've gotten everything right? Like you've built the right team, like all the like key components. You're like, oh yeah, wait, this one little random part of the game. It's like a third of the game, right? Special teams is, it's a big chunk. It's a big chunk of the game. You never have to worry about that.
Yeah, you don't think about it until you get the Cowboys kicker out there just missing everything.
Yep.
And then you're like, holy shit, what do we do?
How many mock drafts have you read, listened to, or seen in the last month and a half?
Over 50.
Easily, right?
Well over 50, yeah.
I mean, you've done like 10. just you doing it on your own.
Yeah, I'd probably do one. I've been doing like maybe 1 or 2 a week just to see. I've done some just by myself. I've joined rooms where people are doing mocks, and just to kind of see where things fall. Again, none of it means anything because none of us are GMs or
I'm glad you like it because to me it seems like a Magic the Gathering preseason game. You know what I mean? It's just so like not real, not part of anything. You're just kind of pretending to do the same motions. You know what I mean? It's like fantasy football, but Magic the Gathering in a preseason. It's like no. So I'm glad you like the process and you get something out of it because I don't. I can't.
Look, I look at it differently than most people. I don't look at it the specific player that we're getting. Maybe the first couple of rounds, okay, yeah, you target these specific players, but after that, it's more so what's the vibe going? Like how are a lot of these players looked? And then it gives me the opportunity to look at different players and scout different guys and stuff like that. But more so like the logic. Can you find the logic behind some of these picks?
I can see the value in trends, right? Maybe GMs are like, really valuing corners, right? And the corners are going off the board really fast because maybe they don't think the latter ones are going to be there or something like that. Or, things like that. I think there's some value there. But again, it's just such a complicated process where guaranteed some of these draft gurus, like they're being told by GMs, hey, like put in that we're going to do this because we want to there's just misinformation everywhere. Right.
Yeah, that's what I was telling.
As it should be.
Yeah.
As it should be. Like if you're GM, you're not doing your job. If you're not throwing off the other 31 teams drafting, right? Sure. If you're not trying to keep things going, right? With that said, what can we expect next Thursday in Kansas City in the first round and beyond into the weekend? There are still generally more or less an agreed upon path. There's always some wacky pick. There's always stuff that comes out of nowhere. It's normally John Gruden doing it, right? He's not here.
Christ. Bro, can we talk about that real quick before we go on?
Okay.
Look, when we have as many first round busts as we had the last 5 years or so, 4 years, that puts your franchise back so far. Mm-hmm. Imagine if we would have hit on half. Now, by hit, I mean they're productive players on your team. They don't have to be like superstar players. Like out of the last 4 years, how many of those first round picks are on our team? One, Josh Jacobs. That's it. Everyone else is gone.
Colton Miller was 4. Was he 4 or 5?
He was an 18. This was 5 years ago.
5 years. Okay.
So 19, 20, 21, and 22 draft. So, I mean, if we hit on half of those guys, those are positions like we don't have to worry about, man.
Yeah.
And these guys are okay. Maybe he's not a superstar, but he's a starter, a solid guy. It's not always going to be level
on a cheap rookie deal.
Exactly.
Which is
that's the big thing.
Exponentially makes them better.
Yes. So it's like the Leatherwood and Christian Darrisaw. Christian Darrisaw is like a second team All-Pro offensive tackle to Leatherwood, who we did pick, who was absolutely terrible and gone after 1 year, and we're eating a dead cap hit. So they would have cost us the same, but it's a bookend
Can we just acknowledge again that a first round draft pick couldn't even make it to year 2? Like that never. The biggest draft busts in history are still playing football in year 2. Jamarcus Russell.
He's playing, but he's not starting. I don't think he started. He spot started here or there, but
he was cut with no draft. Like gone from the. I'm saying gone from the team. Like gone from the team, and not because he hits a legal issue, injury, steroid, right? Just like literally could not play football. Cut. We'd rather eat the dead cap. That never happens. People talk draft bust like, oh, he was so hyped and fell through. Like that's a draft bust. He was so hyped, got a bunch of money like before the rookie salary cap thing happened, fell through. Ryan Leaf, Jamarcus Russell. This is a different level of draft bust. It's like you would rather eat the dead cap of a guy on a rookie deal than have him play football for us after one season. That never ever happens.
And that was like a poison pill combo. The fact that Leatherwood was so bad. And he was basically saying, I'm not going to play guard. I'm not going to play guard. I'm going to play tackle. And we're like, dude, you can't play tackle because you're not good enough to play tackle. Well, I want to play tackle. I'm not going to play guard. Okay, fuck you. You're gone.
You played neither.
Yeah, you played neither.
Even when you were playing.
But look, I mean, you have that. You have take away the rug stuff that happened to him. It's the bullshit that he did. But I mean, you have guys like Jefferson, you have like T. Higgins, you have guys that were better than him that were taken after him. Mm-hmm. And it's like it's not like Farrell was a bad player or Arnett was a bad player in college or even Abram for that matter, but we reached so hard for these picks. Yeah. And it puts you back so much. That's why it's extremely important to it's impossible. It's so hard. Drafting is so hard, right? But you got to hit on, more than half of your picks, especially early in the draft.
Really the only thing you can do. And again, like I've been preaching this forever. I think drafting, like you said, it's such a crapshoot. It's, you talk about all these GMs. This GM's a great drafter. It's like, no, he had a good, Reggie McKenzie had an amazing draft and then just fucking garbage after that, right? Like a lot of guys will hit on a draft and then fall apart. No GM. You find me one GM who consistently hits in the draft, like far above average. Doesn't happen. The only guys that do is
the guy from the Eagles.
Short term, right? We'll see. We'll see moving forward. And also, it's such a good, like, well-run organization that you get like the best out of guys too. I think that's also part of it. Like,
well, the thing is too, it's like what I'm looking for when I say stuff like look at the guys from the Eagles, look at the guys from the Niners, is they don't pick guys for things that they haven't done. Mm-hmm. They pick guys that are good at what they do, and they put them in that position. They're not going to grab guys that are like awesome doing one thing and not ask them to do it.
Drafts are drafting the NFL is like being the dude in a porno.
Just don't fuck it up.
You can't make it better, really, but you can definitely fuck it up. Right. And that's what this franchise has been doing for too long, specifically under Gruden and Mayock.
The reaches, man. It's been the reaches.
Like, you're right. Like, we're not going to know exactly who's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, but we know who should. We know a lot of people who shouldn't. Right. Like, we don't know who the top 10 is going to be, but we know who's trending to be in a second round and shouldn't go in the top 10. That's really the only value. Not, I know Stroud's going to go 2. It's all right. This tackle from Michigan, no one's looking at him after round 2. Don't reach and pick him at the end of round 1. That's really the only reason to keep your ear to the grindstone is just like, what's the general more or less consensus on what half of what round this guy's going
for a reason, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you picked Farrell like 15 spots too soon. You picked Arnett maybe a round and a half too soon. You picked Abrams in the first round when he would have been there in the second round. It's like you all this stuff. It's just it compounds because if you're gonna take a big swing and go against the grain, fine, go ahead and do it. But you better be right, or you better be right more often than you're wrong. And our last regime just wasn't right.
And we'll find out how Ziegler's first, very first draft as a GM last season, how it's going to pan out as time goes on. But we can definitely say he didn't royally fuck up a pick. There wasn't just like a giant reach, a terrible pick, nothing like that, right? It helps when you don't have a first or second rounder to really screw up too. But
he got a starter in the third round.
That's what I'm saying. It's like,
and he was one of the best offensive linemen and rookies in the league. So
you get a third, you get a third rounder, and you get a guy that really contributed, right? On a unit that's needs contributors. It's like, okay, good. The rest of it, we'll find out how well it does, right? It takes time to figure. It's like a UFC fighter's record. Sometimes it gets better with age, right? Like Conor McGregor. Wow, he beat Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier forever ago. Those wins look really good. And then you've got like Colby Covington, who like every single guy he's beats like retired now and like done, So like that, draft teams age poorly or well as time goes on. But we can definitely say there was no terrible swings and misses, no giant reaches out of this first time, and that's good because we got a lot of draft picks coming up. So I asked you, of the 50 or so mock drafts you've seen, which one's your favorite? And you chose this one. I think it's Dane Bulger from The Athletic.
Bulger,
yeah. His most recent draft from The Athletic. And this is who we got. Devin Witherspoon, corner, Illinois. Second round, Trenton Simpson, linebacker, Clemson. Third round, Sam Laporta, tight end, Iowa. Third round, Colby Wooden, defensive tackle, Auburn. Fourth round, Aidan O'Connell, quarterback, Purdue. 3 fifth-rounders, A.T. Perry, wide receiver, Wake Forest. Jordan Battle, safety, Alabama. John Gaines, the second guard/center, UCLA. A couple 6th-rounders, Ryan Hayes, offensive tackle, Michigan. Chris Rodriguez, junior, running back, Kentucky. Pair of 7th-rounders, Neste Jed Silvera, defensive tackle, Arizona State. And our final guy, Mekhi Blackman. USC. Mekhi Blackman. You're going to get – I know you like that last Trojan just squeaking in there. I knew you liked this one because you got another lineman from UCLA. You want 3 UCLA linemen on our offensive line. I like where your head's at, Soto. So why do you like this one? Why is this your – why? And it's your favorite, not because of who it's from or how it came about. You're just like, I like this squad. Like if these are the guys we pick, you're happy.
Oh, yeah. The first thing I looked at is, who do we get in the first 3 rounds? Who are the best 100 players in this draft, right? Mm-hmm. What do we get in that range? And they all filled needs. Mm-hmm. Devin Witherspoon is, you'd say 1 or 2 best corners in the draft. Mm-hmm. Just his ability, his tenacity. He plays good tight man coverage, which is what we play a lot. You look at Trenton Simpson, he's a physical freak. I think he ran the 40 faster than Witherspoon, and he's like 30 pounds heavier.
Nice.
And he's like, I think he's like a 4.43, and Witherspoon was like a 4.49 or something like that. And
run down those tight ends in the AFC West.
Dude, and he needs a little bit of tightening up in coverage because he's just naturally very aggressive. Mm-hmm. But definitely a guy you could plug right in there, and he'll play right away. Sam Laporta basically is a big wide receiver, but plays tight end in the NFC. In the AFC West. Kelsey's not a fucking blocker, dude. Like the tight ends in the AFC, these guys catch passes, and Laporta's that. He can get better as he gets older. He's a big kid, about 6'3", 250, something like that. But he runs routes. I think he was like one of the fastest or the fastest tight end in the 3-cone drill. So change of direction, getting separation is not a problem for him. Good hands. He gets up high points the ball. Colby Wooden, he's a little bit undersized for D tackle, kind of a tweener guy, but pass rush at defensive tackle, he can definitely do it. Stronger than he looks. Nice long arms. But that's what I focused on first.
Yeah.
The guys that are supposed to start, who did we get and what holes do they fill? And just so happens that we fill – 4 of the top 5 in your list.
Yep.
Right there.
Yeah. And this is a nice draft in the sense that like where there's a lot of strength is where our needs are. Corner, linebacker, tight end, even quarterback, right? Like there's a lot of depth at quarterback. So a couple things. Like you mentioned, 2 defensive tackles, 2 corners drafted. And then basically one of every position. Like I think we drafted every single position in football. Corner, linebacker, tight end, defensive tackle, offensive tackle, quarterback, wide receiver, running, even a running back, like every single position, which we need help at basically every single position, which is nice. On this specific draft, Jalen Carter and Will Levis were on the board at 7, and they went with Witherspoon. Would you still do that if this draft happened and you had number 7? Carter and Levis are still available. Are you going Witherspoon at 7?
No, I'd go Carter.
Okay, me too.
Here's what I would do. If one of the top, my order is this: one of the top 2 quarterbacks, one or the other, right? Young or Stroud. If they're gone, then you go in this order defensively. You go Carter, Anderson, Witherspoon.
Yep.
If those guys are gone by the time you pick, try like hell to trade back. If not, get the best defensive player available.
Yeah, I think they had I think Carter went like 12 in this draft, which is ironic because that's what I pitched originally was let's trade down from 7 to like 11, 12, get some more picks and try to get Carter there because he's dropped so much. It's like, again, I know it's a million things have to happen for that to happen. I was like, fuck, I might have put it out there. Like I might have like subconsciously used my brain and got us to go back and still get the best defensive player in this draft. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, if we get Carter at 7, we can get a corner at 100 he's a better corner than Wooden is a defensive tackle because for sure Carter would be a better defensive tackle than Witherspoon would be a corner.
And you like Witherspoon over Gonzalez?
Yeah,
as the first corner off I think Gonzalez went off the board first in this draft, and that's why he went Witherspoon. But you would rather take Witherspoon over Gonzalez?
Yeah, I would rather take him. I think he's a better player. I mean, he doesn't have quite he's not like the athletic freak like Gonzalez is, but I think Witherspoon is just a better player.
Also in this specific draft, our number 2 pick was number 38, Trent Simpson. You went with the linebacker from Clemson. In this draft, Hendon Hooker went 37 to the Seahawks right before us, right? Because they had the Broncos pick. If he's there, if Hendon Hooker's at 38, are you going Hooker?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then everything else is drop back one. Because look, I like a guy out of Cincinnati at tight end. So we can get a linebacker at 70 and then get, push everything up 1 and get this guy, his name's Wiley out of Cincinnati. Super tall kid. It's like 6'6", runs good routes, really long arms, nice soft hands. He can block a little bit, but you need to get better at blocking. But we can get him probably in the 6th round. So there's some sleeper guys late in the draft that we can look to if we let's say get a guy. Let's say we get, like you said, we get Hooker at 38. We can just push everything back 1, get a linebacker at 70, and figure that out from there. But I didn't look at the actual player as much after the first round. I looked at the position. Like, yeah, I would go linebacker at best linebacker available at 38 if Hooker's not there. I would go best tight end available at 70. For sure. That's definitely an area you want to get guys like that.
I guess there's no specific pick that I'm upset with, but
I have one.
We got, well, at least on the top, we have 3 offensive players in the first 6 picks, which I was like, dude, our defense is so bad. We just got to throw bodies out there. That's like trade down, defense. And again, I don't hate Aidan O'Connell at 4. I hate Sam Laporta at 3, the 3rd pick. Like, I don't hate a specific pick. I was just like, those are some assets that, okay, we need depth there. We need guys there, but our defense is so bad. It's just like you said, there's no guarantee Witherspoon's going to pan out. There's no guarantee Simpson's going to pan out. There's no guarantee Wooden's going to pan out. Like, multiple guys to give us that luxury if these if these dudes don't pan out. So again, it's hard for me to knock on it because I can't say that one specific pick change it. It just feels not what I expected prior.
Well, look at it from this perspective. You're not really expecting anyone from the 4th round pick back to start.
Mm-hmm.
So the guys that you picked in the areas that you want to get starters from are all positions of need. Mm-hmm. The other guys that you're getting are just depth guys anyway. You need depth everywhere, so you're just getting the best guy that's there. Dude, A.T. Perry's like 6'4". He's got like an 83-inch wingspan. This dude's a freak, okay? He's going to be able to play. He played good ball at Wake Forest. He's not super fast, but he's not. So I think it's like a 4.5 at 6'4". Mm-hmm. He's going to be able to get open. He's going to be a weapon for us. Jordan Battle, he needs to, he's a freaking hitter. Like smaller receivers don't want to go over the middle. He's that type of guy. He's not super big. He's like 6'1", but the guy puts the hammer down. He's got a little bit of Abram in him, but he's much better in coverage. He's good in man-to-man coverage, but he also can read the quarterback's eyes really well in zone. So, I mean, we're getting good players. I would rather get good players everywhere than just throw a bunch of bodies out there and see what happens.
It's hard to vibe what Ziegler's tendencies are going to be from one draft that didn't have a first and second rounder, but from the little evidence that we have, it looks like he is what's the strength of the draft go there guy. Like instead of, hey man, there's only so many good tackles. Let's go tackle real early. He's like, dude, there's a bunch of great safeties in this draft. Let's get a bunch of safeties and see which one pans out. Right. Like he's like playing to the strength. This one feels like purely best player available type draft, right? Like no matter what the position is, it's the Raiders. You need almost every position, at least depth, if not starters, mostly starters. That's what Bugler felt like it did to me. Just kind of like best guy available when your spot gets there, outside of like, we really need a corner, we really need a linebacker to start, right? For the most of this, it feels like best guy available. I think Ziegler's a little bit more. I think we're going to get like 3 safeties because there's some pretty decent safeties. I think we're going to get like 3 corners because there's a lot of good corners. I feel like that's who Ziegler is, again, with just one draft under his belt without a first and second rounder.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know. I'm not big on the Chris Rodriguez pick.
Okay,
I just don't see it. He's a bigger back. He's like 6'2", 20-ish around there, but he's not fast. He's not going to break away from anybody. He's not very patient. He's not a very patient runner. He's not a really good blocker for his size. So it's like, where does he fit in? I didn't see that pick. I mean, I can see the logic in these picks. Hayes, starter, played a lot of games, played a lot of good football against a lot of good players. Gaines, there's versatility, but he's also good. It's not just that he's versatile, but he's good. He can play center. He can play both guard spots. Blackman, I've seen every freaking game that Blackman played. If you and Rory were telling me, oh, you only like Polamalu because he's a USC guy. And I'm like, no, dude, the guy's good. And he ended up playing a lot of snaps towards the end of the season last year. I can see him having a bigger role this season. But Mekhi Blackman is that type of guy. He's a man-to-man guy. He's not that good in zone. Like if you play a lot of zone, Mekhi Blackman is not for you. He's a man-to-man guy. He's not super big, but he's fast, he's long, and he's quick. So those are the kind of, if you get him at 7, that's a really good pick. The only one that I can see the logic in these picks. I don't see the logic in getting Rodriguez in the 6th round.
Well, we need that 7th running back available on our roster.
When you have like Garner out of LSU might still be there. You have guys like Gervais, I forgot his last name, from Houston.
How about when you've got 6 running backs already on the roster?
Look, I don't care about that because if he's better than some of those guys, you just fucking drop him and you move on. Yeah. But I don't see him being better than the guys we already have on the squad. I don't see that. I can see every one of these guys producing, maybe not O'Connell, but dude, O'Connell, dude, he's probably one of the more accurate quarterbacks, probably the top 3 accurate quarterback in the draft.
Let's talk about Aidan O'Connell real quick.
He's fucking great, bro. Look, he's so fucking sweet, dude. He looks like Farva. That's who he is. He's fucking Farva.
It's Landfill from Super Troopers.
No, it's the same. It's the same actor, but he looks like Farva.
Look at that.
He has a mustache
and the haircut. And the like,
so fucking good, bro.
And the like, I was in ROTC my entire life, but the Army wouldn't take me a haircut.
Dude, freaking click on that one where he's smiling, cheesing in the middle. That one, that's the freaking tits ass picture right there. That is the sweetest picture of all time. The freaking mustache dips underneath the lip line. So sweet, dude.
Give me a large Farva. I don't want a large Farva. Give me a goddamn liter of cola.
Look,
goddamn brewery.
He's good, man. He's a good player. He had a better 21 than the 22 season. Super accurate arm. He's the kind of guy that Josh McDaniels can mold. He's not super mobile, right? But he's got a quick release. Even though his release is long, it's quick, and he gets a lot of zip
chug a beer in 0.7 seconds flat.
Yep. He's accurate.
I don't even care if he can play ball. I just want to be able to do all my landfill jokes.
God damn it! I'm trying to show you that I've done homework on these guys.
I know, and I'm ruining it for you, but I'm just too excited. No, wait, no mustache. Get rid of that photo. Yeah, there he is. Roger checking. Look at this dude.
Car Ramrod. Get it?
Don't call me
Car Ramrod.
Oh, gotcha, fucker.
See his chick. See what he's working with.
See, that's definitely the downside. No guy that looks like Landfill is going to be bringing A+.
Bro,
luckily we got Jimmy G. We got Jimmy G taking care of the chick situation.
Dude, imagine Jimmy G pulling for Aidan, bro. Nice little Irish boy.
I love this guy.
He is so freaking dope, dude.
Dude, that face.
Just love it, dude. That freaking mustache is just, it's so good.
The molestache with the ROTC haircut. God, man. I don't even care if he can play ball.
So freaking good. But he's man. He's the kind of quarterback that he's never going to have the biggest arm, but you can't really teach accuracy all that much. You know, you can get him better technique wise. His footwork can be better, so he's always on balance when he throws. Be able to help him, get more zip on the ball. But his anticipation and his accuracy is really good. He's super smart. I mean, you have to be smart to go to Wake Forest, but he's not a bad pickup in the fourth round. I've seen him go a little bit later in drafts, but that's just mocks. You never really know. But for the
Purdue, not Wake Forest.
I'm sorry, Purdue.
Dumb.
For
he looks like he's from Purdue. Like that's an Indiana looking
motherfucker. Purdue too. You have to be smart to go to Purdue. He reminds me a lot of another Purdue quarterback back in the day. Not super big arm, smart, good leader, really accurate. I forgot what his name was.
Another fun talking point on his face.
Exactly.
The mustache. It was something else.
You got to take it off after a couple of years. I'm like, bro, why'd you do that? Should have left it on there. Yeah. But he's the kind of quarterback that Josh McDaniels wants to get his hands on.
I want him, and I eventually want to cut him, just so when he's gone, we can say he was a fat asshole. But he was my fat asshole. One time, he farted an entire plum.
And I was plum surprised. What movie is that from?
Let us know in the comments.
It's so good.
Raiders news. Good, because we're doing it. Tom Pelissero tweeted out April 17th. Raiders running back Josh Jacobs and Jaguars tight end Evan Ingram haven't signed their franchise tenders and won't report for voluntary off-season programs per sources. The off-season programs began this week. Again, completely voluntary. Basically just conditioning and workouts. Just, hey, get in the building. This is what things look at. The draft's still coming up, so no one's really all that focused. But Josh Jacobs hasn't signed the franchise tag, and no serious negotiations have really been underway. Again, he has till, I think, July 17th off the top of my head, I think, as the date for when it has to be done, or there's consequences, right? You can't do an extension after that, whatever it may be. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is your freak out level on, are we going to get something done or something correctly done with Josh Jacobs? 1 being totally cool, you're totally happy. Number 10, we're in DEFCON 3.
0.
Okay, totally fine.
It's a non-issue right now because we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. The front office is focused on the draft right now. They put the franchise tag as a placeholder. Once they make their draft and once they sign their draft picks, they're gonna have plenty of time, like 2 months, to work out what's going on with Jacobs. I'm not freaking out whatsoever right now.
The only thing that makes me, again, not freak out, I'm low like you on that one. I think there are 2 things I'm semi-worried about. One is, are we going to do a good deal? Right? if we're going to keep him for 1 year and 10 million and let him walk, that sucks. Paying him 10 million for 1 year and he's gone. Like, try to make it a 2-year 16, like we talked about last week, or if we can get something good in a trade, get the value out of him, right? That's what you do in a great franchise. Is when's your guy at its highest value? Josh Jacobs, after leading the season in rushing, showing he can break the big one, better pass catcher, and didn't get hurt at all this season. When would you move on from him? Probably now, right? I don't want to, but I get it. There's that part. And two, he's been super diva on Instagram. Very cryptically diva. So I don't know if that's just kind of a warning. Is he messing with us? Other than those two things, Soto, I'm with you. Like, it's just standard operating procedure.
As far as what he's doing on Instagram, that has nothing to do with what we can do. We have no control over that. If he's in our long-term plans, then none of this matters. If he's not in our long-term plans, none of this matters anyway. Nothing that's happening right now matters. What's going on with Josh Jacobs? None of it, because we still have a lot of time after the draft and after those players are signed to get him signed or figure out what we want to do.
No reason to freak out, but it is in the back of my mind. What are we going to do with the one really, really, really good first-round draft pick that we still have on the team? Next one, according to Pro Football Network, in terms of which team could trade up, the Las Vegas Raiders are a potential destination. The Raiders presently have Hooker rated as QB3 on their board, and don't believe their top two signal callers, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, in no order, have a chance to fall into the 7th pick. Hendon Hooker, number 3 on the Raiders draft board. Are you buying that?
Yes.
Over Levis, over Richardson.
Lucky Brooks said the exact same thing today.
Mm-hmm.
Your boy Fuckface Florio was saying that shit earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
That he's talked to a lot of GMs and people in the decision-making rooms, and that Hooker is, the thing is the media, a lot of times, the NFL media, is they push the same things because they're stories, and they report on stories. They don't have analysts saying their own stuff. They have a lot of guys reporting the same shit over and over again. So you just naturally say, okay, yeah, well, it's Young, Stroud, Levis, Richardson, and then Hooker. Well, if people who actually talk to the decision makers, they feel differently. I don't know that the GMs and the scouts think as highly of these quarterbacks as the rest of us do, because they're doing something that's very dangerous. A lot of the people, a lot of the reporters and stuff like that, they're comparing these quarterbacks to each other, and then they're saying, well, because quarterback is so important, they're going to move up, and they're going to be can a quarterback go 1, 2, 3, 4? It's not going to happen. Not going to happen this year. I don't think. And because what you have to do is you have to rank these quarterbacks not only against themselves, but against the guys that came in the year before and the guys who started to come in a year after. And I just don't think that these quarterbacks are as high just because they're the quarterback position and, you have some sort of ranking, you know what I'm saying?
I see the analyst story crew and the headline machine come from like one of two camps at this point in the offseason. It comes from one of two camps: people who really care what the combine is and people who don't, right? People who love the combine look at Anthony Richardson. It's like, holy shit, he's going to catapult up the draft board. You saw his numbers, his athleticism. Will Levis looks great in shorts. Great in shorts and a sleeveless shirt, right? Just no pressure, just rifling bombs. Looks great in the combine. Fantastic in the combine.
Dude eats a banana like a freaking Snickers bar with the wrapper on it, dude.
Right? Little mayo in the coffee, just whatever it takes to get your calories. That's what I'm saying is like the storylines. You get way more storylines out of guys that look great in the combine around the combine. And the combine is a lot closer to the draft than the college football season. So I think that's where you see media momentum for players at this point in the season. Now, does that turn into actual draft or not? Again, it depends who's telling that story and who the GM is. I think that's why we've seen Levis and Richardson catapult, because they're I'm not saying they can't play football. It's not a prediction of whether they're going to be good, bad, draft high, or draft low. They are amazing combine players. Like they are the guys that look great in combine. Antonio Brown, our buddy, in the news again. He was
jerking off at a hotel again?
No, sadly not. Must have been a slow day for him. Via the $1 million worth of game podcast. We should have named our podcast that.
Why didn't we?
My agent is getting called, cursed out by Tom Brady over why he is pushing back for the contract for scraps. Imagine if you heard that guy, the same guy that brought you in to win a ring, the same agent he told you to hook up with to get that deal is not telling me the guy's calling him saying, yo, cursing him out about scraps of a contract. I give everyone their props from a team standpoint as far as the team. But we all got our own agendas in the midst of the team. So when you're an older player, you getting deals like that, you feel like, and I'm telling my agent's telling me already before the season, this guy who he hooked me up with is calling him, cussing him out about the contract. So for all the faults of Tom Brady, you never hear current, past, or future teammates of Tom Brady bash him. By all intents and purposes, he's the ultimate teammate. Like you love playing with and for Tom Brady. You really have to be a level of piece of shit, the level of Antonio Brown, to be a teammate of Tom Brady, a guy who lets you live in his house and be like, yeah, I'm going to pop my head up every few months in the media, and I'm going to use one of those times to shit on Tom Brady.
Whenever I hear someone tell me something like third hand, I put very little into it. Did Tom Brady talk to AB and tell him all that stuff? No. Well, my agent told me that Tom Brady told, what, dude, come on. How old are we here?
Yeah.
Stop it. Yeah, it's just lame, dude. It just shows you how desperate he is for attention. And it's not like Tom Brady's above reproach or anything like that. It's just that it's like that whole second.
Oh, I'm all for Tom Brady bashing, right? Like people are just like worshiping the ground he walks on. Like,
that came out of his mouth that you heard.
He's got his faults, but by every piece of evidence we have, people love playing with him. And so I was just like exhibit 942 about kind of what makes Antonio Brown tick. This one right here. A quick ranking of the schedules for 2023. We don't know when. We don't have our actual schedule, but we know our home and away games and who they're going to be. And we're used to this by now, Raider fans. The Raiders have the fourth toughest schedule. Again, this is based on the quality of teams from last season. Not projections of who they signed or not. Just how did you do last season? Who are you playing this season? The 5 easiest schedules, 1 Saints, 2 Falcons, 3 Panthers. No surprise there, that division.
Of course, the
4
Colts. Saints are going to have the easiest schedule.
5 Bears. And then 5 hardest schedule. Bills, Chiefs, Raiders, Dolphins. Obviously, Raiders, Chiefs, AFC West. Damn good on paper.
AFC East, AFC West, man.
AFC East, AFC West. Standard operating procedure for the Raiders, Soto. We always have like a bottom third toughest schedule in football every season. Every season.
We always got to play the Chiefs twice. We always got to play Denver. We got to play the Chargers twice.
The AFC is a tougher division or a conference
overall. Yeah,
overall. So like those teams are in there.
It's tough, man. It's gonna be tough.
It's tough sledding, man. It ain't getting easier. We ain't getting no intangible favors next season, right?
For
sure.
Keep
our ducks in a row. Ready to do some what up windbags?
Sure.
From Jaybird 26. With Jimmy G under contract, that gives us the ability to take an Anthony Richardson in the top 10, only because we have 2 years to polish his game into his high potential. I definitely understand the premise of what Jaybird is saying is that we are well positioned to pick up a developmental quarterback. We got Jimmy G, right? We're not demanding him to start right away. Anthony Richardson in the top 10. That's not crazy of him going there. I don't think it should be us, though.
I think it's crazy. If we change that gives us the ability to take a quarterback sometime in the first 3 rounds, Cool. I'm good with that.
It gives us a chance to draft Landfill and turn him into the beer drinking.
He was actually in the 4th round, sir. He was a top 110 pick, though. He was 109. Who's basically a 3rd rounder.
He's number 1 in my heart. Fish and Riffs. Sweet name. We're going to need a quarterback soon. Is it better to go after one this draft or next? If we wait until next year, what, in your opinion, would need to happen to get the right guy? Getting that 4th rounder like the Purdue guy, I feel like that's right in the middle. We're not going after a guy, but we're not waiting till next season. You know, it's kind of a weird middle ground, which it doesn't really answer this question. And doesn't really, I don't know, as much as again, we're joking about him, Landfill, and maybe he can pan out and be great, but I don't think there's anybody thinking that the Raiders quarterback of the future is on the roster if that's who we draft.
The thing is the mindset of where Ziegler was taught is give yourself the opportunity to find out. Mm-hmm. We didn't do that. We didn't draft quarterbacks for I don't know how long. I don't know how many years. It was fucking eight years, I think. It was a long time since we drafted a quarterback. So you don't know if you don't take guys and see what they develop into. That's why I have no problem taking O'Connell at 109 because he has traits that translate well into not only the NFL in general, but to Josh McDaniel's scheme specifically. He's smart, he's accurate, and he get the ball out fast. So it makes sense. But the thing is you don't necessarily have to get those guys up really high to beat out the guy that's in front of them.
Roland Orantes. Devin White, we don't want. He can't cover for crap. Yes, he can run side to side, but we need a guy who can cover. We have guys who can go side to side. So that's basically what we said last week when Devin White first, announced that he was available for trade, and maybe the Raiders need him. Obviously, we need all help on defense, certainly linebacker, and we kind of poo-pooed it, like, it's going to basically be the last year of his rookie deal. Then we're going to have to pay him a ton. He's not that great in coverage, and that's kind of what we agreed on. But then I kind of stopped myself, and I was like, our defense is so bad. Should we be just poo-pooing a quality player like Devin White? Is that really what we should be doing? We're kind of desperate a little bit, right? Like if Devin White wanted to go to the Raiders for God knows why, are we stupid for saying no to a player that good on a defense this bad?
No, not at all. Because he's not good at everything. He's really good at one thing, but that's about it. And especially with the teams that you play.
But that's my point. There's only one guy on our defense that's good at everything, and everyone else is mostly bad at most things. He'd be the second best player on the defense immediately.
Okay, but the thing that you need, he doesn't do well at all. He doesn't cover well at all. Mm-hmm. He's still going to be probably one of your worst coverage linebackers, even with the crew that we have right now. So to pay him that much money, he's not going to move the needle that much on your defense. You're going to go from one of the bottom 3 defenses in the league to one of the bottom 8, 7. Like, how much is he really going to make? How much better is he going to make you to take up that much of the cap? And I just don't see it.
It's in our look. It's, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I still kind of stand by what we said last week. But I think the mentality of let's stop being a little so picky, like he would immediately, can we agree he'd be the second best player in our defense, right? Again, some errors, some cap issue. He'd be the second best player in our defense. Sometimes we're going to have to be like, okay, he's not perfect. We got to start improving. I'm not saying get him. I'm saying as a general mentality, as our fake GMs with our fake GM hats on, maybe it's like, all right, he's got some errors, but he definitely makes our defense better.
I think that's more of an attitude to have if he was an offensive player. If you already have a pretty good offense, a player like that who's good, really good at doing one thing, he could put you over the top to make you a damn good or a great offense, right? But when you have a bad defense that has so many holes, he's not going to be able to cover up that many holes because he's not a 5-tool type of player.
Yeah.
And to give him, he wants a freaking Roquan Smith deal, bro. That's $18 million, $19 million a year. We can't afford to give him that much in a position in the NFL at middle linebacker that's not super valued. It's just not smart.
He wants that. No one's going to give him that. Two, he now has a chance to play on a bad defense and prove that he's not just a good player on a really good defense, right? Like he has a chance, like, okay, because his value could completely plummet if all these warts are shown. You know what I mean? Like
then why would we had to pay him anyway?
If we had to pay him this second, it'd be a little bit of a different story. But still on the rookie deal. If his play's great and he can do better. Again, I'm not sold. We start moving some of our picks we need so bad to go get him.
Stay the course, man.
Let's stop. Let's
have your
defense this bad to be a little less picky.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's being picky. I think it's if you're going to get a guy that's going to help you where you're worst at, which is in pass coverage. He's not going to help you with that.
He'd be the second best player on the defense.
Again, he's not helping you. The defense overall needs help.
The defense overall does need help.
Exactly, but where is the part that you got burnt the most is covering tight ends, covering running backs out of the backfield, covering the over the middle where we got gashed. He's not going to help you there. So you're paying for a guy that, yeah, he does things really well at a high level, but he's not helping you where you're at your worst. So why spend all that money on him?
It all comes down to, look, do these draft picks pan out, right? If they're not,
it's a huge draft, man. It's a huge draft because
it all comes down to
it has to start turning around sometime. You have to turn it around sometime, and that's why you have to stay disciplined. You have
We've been saying that 20 years. It's been 20 years since the Raiders had a good defense. Not even an average defense. It's been 20 years since they've been above average. It's been 20 years since they've been not shit.
Look, and the thing that we're looking at here is, well, the bulk of that time,
Bill Romanowski was on our defense the last time. It was not shit.
The bulk of that time was Al Davis making the decisions, and he was doing what Gruden did, which is I don't like rookies. Let me just slap a bunch of guys together,
overdraft and reach,
and just slap a bunch of guys together, get a bunch of veteran guys that don't like to play young players. That's what he was doing. McKenzie went in there, had to take care of the dead cap and shit like that, whatever it was called back then. And then, he started to build a team, and he missed on a couple of draft picks, and then Gruden got rid of him and then started doing what Al Davis was doing, reaching and focusing more on veteran players and not really wanting rookies. And so now that's where we are now. So I understand what you're saying, but I mean, context is king. You have to take a look at the guy that's drafting now is not the guys who were drafting the last 20 years.
Something's going to change. We'll see if Ziegler's the guy that can do it.
Hopefully.
Next week, draft day. You can do live Thursday night, right? After the first round?
I think so, and here's why.
But wait,
my sister is going in to the hospital on Tuesday. Maybe she'll have a baby on Tuesday. I don't know. Maybe Wednesday. I don't know how long it's going to take for her to, because she's getting.
I don't know how it works. Whenever the baby crawls out of her butt, right?
That the stork comes and puts the baby in your brain, and then your butt falls off, and then you have to dig in the butt and find. There it is. The baby. What movie is that from? So I don't know when she's going to deliver. So it could be. I could be busy Tuesday. I could be busy Wednesday. Hopefully not Thursday.
Maybe we'll. It's nice to know our first round. Definitely, if something crazy happens, Raiders draft up, draft down, get a couple first rounders. We'll definitely go live. We'll definitely go live Saturday.
Yeah,
when the
Saturday is a good day to go live to talk about a lot of the stuff. But honestly, like, I don't mind going live for the entire draft. It's going to be super long, but I mean, I don't mind talking draft. I kind of like it. But
follow us on social media for that stuff. Like the play-by-play, pick-by-pick. At the Windbags on Twitter, at Autumn Windbags on Instagram, and then there's both our handles.
At Mr. Wonderful 42.
Down there, at RJ Clifford MMA. But until then, knock on wood if you're with me. Hey, you made it to the end of our video.